now. So we are recording.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. On behalf of the association, we'd like to thank Catholic Charities Hawaii and the Administration for Community Living for sponsoring this program today. And I'd also like to thank Jody Michon, who has been instrumental in bringing people and communities together to better support our kupuna and all those who have been impacted by dementia. 40 years ago in 1980, a group of family caregivers, not physicians, not corporations, or politicians, recognized the need for an organization that would unite caregivers, provide support to those affected by all types of dementia, and advancing research into this disease. Jerome H. Stone, who's pictured here, was our founding president. When his wife Evelyn was diagnosed with the disease in 1970, information about Alzheimer's or other dementias, especially or even amongst the medical community, was extremely limited. With his drive and determination, along with the many family caregivers who launched the association, they all took this silent disease and helped us create a global conversation to support all persons affected by this disease. Today, the Alzheimer's Association is truly a global organization. We are the world leader in Alzheimer's and dementia care, support, and research. We are everywhere. And as the saying goes, the sun never sets on the British Empire, while the sun never sets on our work and Alzheimer's dementia research. The brand of the association represents who we are and what we do. It is both a visual symbol of our dual mission, which supports people affected by dementia, and our work in science and commitment that guides us in our daily work in providing support, research, advocacy, and education to all impacted by dementia. And this leads us to our vision and our mission statement as an organization. These words guide us, and we hope that one day we will realize our vision of a world without Alzheimer's disease and all other dementia. And Alzheimer's disease and other dementia affects nearly 100,000 people here in Hawaii. 29,000 currently have the disease, and another 65,000 are their caregivers. As shown, we will see a close to a 21% increase in just 5 years based on prediction models, and the number of people in Hawaii who are fortunately living much longer compared to other states or countries around the world. Unfortunately, with age come health conditions where age tends to be a risk factor. Conditions such as heart disease, risk of stroke, diabetes, cancer, and yes, dementia. For more information about facts and figures related to dementia or specific for Hawaii, please visit alz.org/facts. Now, these statistics and those that encompass the entire nation has guided us in formulating our strategic priorities that help us address dementia across the world through 5 pillars that I will summarize. Providing care and support, our focus is to increase the number of individuals with the disease who receive an accurate and timely diagnosis, increasing access to quality care for those who require it, and just increasing overall support to those living with the disease. Year over year, we aim to increase our commitment and investment in research at a rate designed to double in just 3 years. We want to accelerate risk reduction and find effective treatments for all dementia. We are the world's largest nonprofit funder of dementia research, second only to government. And this week, if you've been tuning into the news or a friend of ours on Facebook, you will see that we're hosting our Alzheimer's Association International Conference, or AAIC, virtually with over 25,000 in attendance. And results that have come out of this conference have been promising. We'd be happy to share more information with you as they become available. But as you have seen perhaps in the news, the flu vaccine is showing promising results in reducing the risk of Alzheimer's disease and other dementia. And tau testing through blood tests is showing promising results in being able to identify or diagnose people 20 years before they actually express any type of symptoms of cognitive decline. There's always so much more that we can do to raise awareness about Alzheimer's and other dementias, and building our base through programs like this, special events, and volunteerism will allow us to reach the masses. We also have a huge focus on diversity and inclusion. This is critical for the association, both in who we are and who we reach. And initiatives to increase diversity and inclusion are necessary to effectively address our full mission in research and in programming. In public policy, we work to secure significant advances in federal and state policy priorities and funding requests to improve all affected by dementia. We have been extremely successful, securing over $2 billion in Alzheimer's and dementia research for fiscal year 2020, and hope to be even more successful as we approach 2021. And of course, in order for us to do our work and increase our impact in mission delivery and research, in treatments and preventions, we need to raise money. And we need to raise a lot to continue our work we do here in Hawaii. So what work do we do in Hawaii? Here's a list that I will summarize. Our work in information and referral. Since the earliest days of the Alzheimer's Association here in Hawaii, we have provided information about the disease and available services for kupuna living with dementia and their ohana. Through these services, we provide information about the disease and services that we provide in association and refer to community resources across the state. Through education and training programs, like today, we help individuals, particularly caregivers, learn about Alzheimer's disease. These programs are given by or delivered by staff or volunteer community educators who meet the qualifications and have completed required training. Topics that typically are covered are 10 warning signs, understanding Alzheimer's and other dementia, which we will hear of today, legal and financial planning, dealing with dementia behaviors, and a series on the different stages of the disease, and many more. Our support groups are delivered in person pre-COVID, over the phone or online, and available to all people affected by dementia, families, friends, caregivers, or the person living with dementia. These support groups create a safe, confidential, and supportive environment and a chance for participants to develop mutual support and social relationships, which can help decrease isolation, especially during a time like this. Caregivers, you are not alone in this journey, so please, I encourage you to participate in one of our many support groups available across the state. Our care consultations, our #1 service, provides in-depth education about the disease, problem solving, and assistance with future planning. These care consultations result in action plans with supportive interventions and crisis assessment and referrals to other community resources and agencies like Catholic Charities of Hawaii. And most recently, we have launched our Health Systems Initiative to better support primary care clinicians, your doctors, and health systems manage their aging and or dementia patient population. In September of this year, we will be launching a pilot series of ECHO programs with the Queens Medical Center and look forward to expanding this program to other health systems, community health centers, and private practice clinicians. And during this very unprecedented time, kupuna living with dementia and their caregivers continue to turn to us for support. The Alzheimer's Association 24/7 helpline staff remain available to provide care around the clock at 800-272-3900. And as always, our website, alz.org/Hawaii, provides a wealth of resources in addition to a list of all local programs and services, which Jody shared to you by email attachment. Thus, we have successfully transitioned all our support groups, education programs, and care consultations to a virtual format through either telephone or live video delivery like today. This ensures uninterrupted care and support services to all local families affected by dementia. Additionally, we've developed programs specific to addressing concerns with COVID-19 and caregiving to tackle unique challenges many families are facing amid this crisis. And now, who makes all of this possible? Here are the amazing staff members of the association. Ivy Castellanos is our Director of Programs and Public Policy. Tonya is our Oahu Program Specialist, who we will hear from today. Christine Spencer, our Maui County Regional Coordinator, who services the island of Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. Humberto Blanco, our Kauai Regional Coordinator. Ian Ross, our Manager of Advocacy and Public Policy, who works with our advocates and lawmakers to ensure policies are in place to support Hawaii become a more dementia-friendly state. And Rebecca Halloran, our Manager of Special Events and the Walk to End Alzheimer's. So join us at one or more of our upcoming programs. A list of July and August programs was included in an email from Jody again, or you can visit us at alz.org/Hawaii. Sign up to be an advocate. We need more voices. We need more voices from caregivers. Visit alz.org/advocate to join the thousands across the state who make up our army of volunteer advocates. If you're on Facebook, like us on Facebook. We post helpful tips and program invitations on a weekly basis. And also join us for Walk. Sign up for Walk this year where everyone everywhere in Hawaii can participate safely. In July, we're launching this register and raise or self-donate $50 or more by the end of the month. And if you do that, I will personally send you a Walk to End Alzheimer's gaiter that can be used as a face mask, scarf, headband, or a beanie. You'll have to email me at ljdwaynes@alz.org once you do that so I can send you the information and the mask. Also, you can use it as an outfit for your furry loved ones. Lastly, be proud of your involvement with the association and your time with us today. And be proud especially of your local Alzheimer's Association here in Hawaii. Thank you for your time, and please reach out to us if we can be of any help or any assistance day or night 24/7. Now at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Tonya.
Hi everyone. Bear with me. Are you guys seeing the screen? Sorry about that. You know, that's the thing about this technology. We're all learning. We're all doing something new with this technology. So even after I've done it for a while, I still kind of have a hiccup. So I'm so glad that you guys are here, and I'm so glad that you are joining us virtually. So I know this is a kind of a new format for everyone, and for now, this is the way we're going to have to do things. And it really is a fun way to see people. And if you're calling in, it's still a good way to be connected. So I'm so glad that you guys have joined, and just want to thank you for coming on, and just to let you know that this is a presentation, an education presentation from the Alzheimer's Association on understanding Alzheimer's and dementia. And this actually is a very broad presentation, and it's going to cover just kind of like the tip of the iceberg for understanding Alzheimer's and dementia. There's so many things many more things that we could talk about, but for now we're just going to kind of cover the basics. If you have questions, feel free to chat those or even email those in, or call those in if you're calling in. And I believe after people that are calling in, we will give you some time to ask questions in the end. So, today we're going to learn about Alzheimer's and dementia. We're gonna see what the difference is. Just to start thinking about that, and think about what you feel like the difference is between Alzheimer's and dementia. We're going to recognize the effects of Alzheimer's on the brain, and we're going to list the risk factors, identify 3 just basic stages of the disease, and we're also going to talk about the FDA-approved treatments that will address Alzheimer's. So when you hear the word dementia, you hear the word Alzheimer's. A lot of times people will use those interchangeably, but actually dementia is an umbrella term. So underneath dementia is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, 60 to 80%. So, and then the second most common is vascular. So you think about all the other dementias. There's so many other dementias, but these are just a few of the ones that we're naming right now. We do have, there's many more, but again, this is just a general overview, and wanting to let you know that Alzheimer's is the most common. And so you want to think, if you've ever thought about Alzheimer's, you wonder, well, is this a normal part of aging? Is this something that is just going to happen when I reach a certain age, or when my mom is a little bit older? Does this just happen? And sometimes people think, well, maybe they call it old timers, where, you know, instead of Alzheimer's, it's old timers. But really, Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease, and it is not a normal part of aging. And the symptoms of Alzheimer's, they're going to interfere with your daily life. So maybe you might forget a couple things today. Maybe you might lock your keys in the car, or maybe you might forget something on the grocery list. You know, those type things are just pretty common, I think, for most people. And then when you especially when you have when COVID, during this era right now, there's just a lot of different emotional things going on with us. So it definitely is going to kind of affect a little bit of your memory, but it's not going to interfere with your daily life. So if you're thinking, and you think, oh, I'm wondering if I might have Alzheimer's or dementia. So that's another class that we offer, Know the 10 Signs, too, that we actually are going to have next session. So just to put that out there. But it is not a normal part of aging. So in 2019, Alzheimer's disease was the 6th leading cause of death. Of course, now with COVID, it's bumped that down to 7. But in general, it is the sixth leading cause of death. And a lot of people wonder why it's important to have their memory checked. I'm sure you guys are aware of the wellness checks at the doctor each year. They give you a wellness, they're supposed to, or maybe you can ask for a wellness test. And basically that's just to keep a baseline of where you are with your memory, and to see if maybe something might need to be done about any more tests. It's just important to have memory tests, and actually to get a diagnosis. If you are maybe thinking you or your loved one might need to be checked for diagnosis, it's important to get an early diagnosis. With that, planning for the future and even care in your own medical decisions is important. And it makes it a little bit easier on the family when you have a diagnosis, and then you've got that in writing, and you've got all your plans and your affairs in order. Sometimes it can lead to a crisis if that is not, the diagnosis is not given or looked at. So it's just important, if you're wondering if you might have it, or if your loved one might have it. And it's easier said than done, because a lot of times it's harder to get someone to go to the doctor that maybe doesn't want to deal with it. So, and we also have a class on that that we offer. So we have a lot of different resources that are there for you. So we're talking about caregivers, and I don't know if we have caregivers here with us today, but we very much are advocate for our caregivers too. With the Alzheimer's Association, we do lots of things to help our caregivers deal with the daily grind of caregiving. So I'm wondering if you guys have ever thought about how many caregivers there are in the United States. I have the answer for you. It's 16.1 million. Might be a little bit higher. It seems to grow every year. So that's just, to me, that's a lot. That's a big number. And you think about what is involved in that number. These people have jobs, maybe they have to retire early. Maybe they have to take several days leave of work, might interfere with their job. And these are unpaid caregivers. So these are not people that are doing as a job. They're doing it for their mom, their dad, their husband, their wife, their auntie. So this is a big group of people that are unpaid. So this is something that the Alzheimer's Association is very much. We want to make sure that you know that we're here to help and to offer you resources, support groups and education programs, care consults. So currently, I know this was a question on your pretest about if it was true or false. So the answer of how many Americans now are living with Alzheimer's is 5.8 million. Now that's Alzheimer's. And you think about other dementias, there's around 50 million people living with other dementias, but Alzheimer's is the most common. So you can see why the Alzheimer's Association and their mission of helping Alzheimer's and other dementias is really important in our cause. This is a global crisis, and these numbers are just have an amazing impact on the world. So we're glad that you're here again and learning these numbers and these. I don't know if you already knew them, but there's a lot of, the numbers are huge, and we want to make sure that we're able to bring that number down. That's the only reason we do the research and we do the clinical trials and those type of things. We'll get to that in a minute, but I wanted to just kind of an overview. This is a very, very simple overview of the brain. So his name was Dr. Alois Alzheimer, and he's actually the person that found the plaques and tangles in the brain. So what are plaques and tangles? So I don't know, I can't really see myself. I don't know if you can see this or not. I can't see myself for some reason, but I'll just explain it this way. So there's, you think about the zipper lanes. You think about you're driving in the zipper lanes. They're always open. They're continually open. And then you think about how maybe a zipper gets stuck, and then it stops. The zipper lane actually shut down, and so there's actually it shut down without any warning. So the car just stops, and then eventually the car doesn't go anywhere. And let's just say the car just is there and left there on the side of the road, and then people are going to steal the tires or whatever happens when you leave cars on the road. But the point is that the cars die when the zipper lane is shut down, and it gets kind of, if you're ever zipping something, it gets stuck. So that's kind of the way I understand it for the plaques and tangles. And the way our brain normally functions is that our cars can just go zipping right on. But when the plaques and tangles are at play with Alzheimer's, those zipper lanes shut down and the cars die. And now there's nowhere to go. They can't get to Waikiki. They maybe have to go a different route. And a lot of times that route may be closed too. So where the brain and the hippocampus, that's where it affects for the most part in the short-term memory. So that's kind of what happens is in the progression of the dying brain of the dying cells. That's what happens in the brain. So it does cause the nerve cells to die, and then it causes the brain, which is about 3 pounds, to shrink. So you compare a healthy brain and then an Alzheimer's brain, and you think about the difference there. And that results in changes in memory and thinking. And of course, another is behavior. And that's something that it can be pretty shocking if you're caring for your mom, your husband, your wife, and they have behavior issues. And that is because of the brain cells that are no longer there. So that's just something to think about. We also have an education program on dealing with those behaviors. So I have a question, and I can't tell if you are going to say yes or no or true or false, but is Alzheimer's a normal part of the aging process? So, and we talked about that, and it's not. It's definitely not something that just happens when you're older. It's progressive brain disease, and unfortunately, there's no cure right now, and that's why the Alzheimer's Association is aggressively working to find that. Here's a good one. Can people younger than 65 get Alzheimer's? So that is definitely true, and the name for that is early onset. And there are people that are 40 and 50 that get Alzheimer's, and there's about 200,000 right now of early onset people in the United States. So it's definitely something that can happen when you're younger, and but in a minute we'll get to the highest risk factor, and you'll see what I mean as far as. So what do you think the highest known risk factor is? And the answer is age. So all of these are risk factors: family history, genetics, but the older that you are, 65 or older, the risk factor is for age is the most common for Alzheimer's. So like I said, even though there is early onset, the age of 65 and older is the most risk factor. So there's certain populations that are more at risk for Alzheimer's, and in the Hispanics and whites, Caucasian, they definitely are 1.5 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's. African Americans are twice as likely to develop the disease, and 2/3 of Americans with Alzheimer's are women. So hi, yay us, right? So when you think about the Asian and Pacific population, there is no studies to note right now. I know that they're looking at certain aspects. I know that if you think about the diabetes and vascular dementia and those type things with the Asian population, I know there's studies with that, and what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So, you know, those type things are something to think about. And right now, the way that we have kind of looked at our population, or the populations here in Native Island, we've just kind of equated that to what's good for your heart is also good for your brain, healthy living, and those type things. So we also have a presentation, an education presentation on healthy living for your brain and body too, and that's actually going to be included in this series. So age is the greatest risk factor. So we discussed that earlier. Family history is also a known risk factor. And if you have a parent or if you have a sibling with the disease. So risk genes and deterministic genes are two types of genes associated with Alzheimer's. So risk genes are just like we were saying, if you're at risk for Alzheimer's. Now, deterministic genes is a very rare gene that there's only a few hundred people in the world that have this gene. That is definitely an Alzheimer's gene, and these folks unfortunately, definitely, they do get Alzheimer's. So when you have the risk genes, it's just you're at risk. And certain things that you can do, healthy living and for your brain and for your body are definitely things that you can do to help with the Alzheimer's, lack of Alzheimer's. So let's see here. So we got the stages next. So as I said before, this is very, these stages are, there's only 3, but there's a lot more in depth to the different stages. This just kind of gives you an idea, just an overview of what you might expect during the stages. So the first stage, one would be able to function independently, maybe have a little bit of problems concentrating or maybe understanding different cues, maybe even having trouble challenging doing challenging tasks or something that normally they're not, it's not as hard, and then maybe just trouble remembering new information. And so this is something that maybe some folks would be able to kind of save face. And by that, I mean just say, oh, well, I'm having a bad day. And then, those days tend to be every day. And that's when I think it's important to maybe get to be seen by a doctor if you're not already. And maybe just see, is this something that is not because of Alzheimer's or dementia? Maybe this is something medically that can be helped, and maybe it's something that maybe UTI, maybe something that maybe is sleep apnea, something that can definitely affect your memory, but it's not something that's going to be a progressive brain disease. So, so then you look at the middle part, the middle moderate stage. That's where confusion with words is definitely, you definitely see that this is Alzheimer's, this is a dementia diagnosis. And then maybe you'll have behavioral changes. And as I said before, this is a hard one to take in when you've had your loving mother, your loving father, your loving husband never raise their voice or never challenge you. But unfortunately, with dementia and Alzheimer's, these things happen, and it's common, and it's because of the brain disease, progressive brain disease. So forgetfulness of events, and then personal history, and then changes in sleeping patterns too. I mean, you think about a caregiver that's caring for someone that is in middle stage or all stages really, but getting to know the new sleeping patterns, that's something that's got to be taxing on the caregiver, because it's probably like almost compared to having a newborn. And I'm not, not saying that the person you're caring for is anywhere near a child, but it's that dynamic of that change, that role reversal, is very similar to that. So it's very hard on the caregiver again. And then with the late stage, so this definitely requires around-the-clock care. So if you're caregiving for your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, and this person has reached a point, late stage, where it's time for them to have round-the-clock care, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So this is where you might want to get help from your family. Sometimes people look into other places to take their loved one, or maybe even someone to come in and watch and help with the care. it's definitely harder on someone that's a little bit older caring for their loved one that's maybe having to lift and shower and those type things. And I worry about the health and the safety of the caregiver when it comes to caring for someone when they're older. So that's something to think about too, if you have a mom or dad that's caregiving for husband or wife. So definitely with the round-the-clock care, you see that changes in physical abilities. There's really not a lot there. You see this lady here in the slide, and in my work with in long-term care, a lot of the little ladies and the men just would have that look, and it was a kind of a distant look, and it's something that it's definitely, I don't like to see it, and you know that this is a late stage, so it's something that all stages again are they're all going to be a little different, but each person is different. So that's another thing. So if you have any questions at any time, you can always call us or email us, and we can help you kind of figure out the stages. So again, the early stage, middle, and late, and then these are just a very this is very moderate. There's mild, moderate, or severe, and there's so much more in depth, but this is just a broad look at those. And no two individuals are going to experience the symptoms and progression in the same way, and everybody's going to be different. So some folks may be in a stage for 10 years, and then some people may be in that stage for a few months. So everyone's different, and it's just kind of playing that wait and see game, and kind of just it's taxing, but it's always kind of good to have an idea. So let's talk real quick about the FDA approved treatments for the symptoms, right? So this is kind of a trick question, but I like to ask it because it kind of gets you thinking. So there are several drugs available to slow down the progression of Alzheimer's disease. So that is false, because the drugs that are on the FDA approved are to deal with the symptoms, not necessarily to cure or to help with the disease. So it only deals with the symptoms. And these drugs, and I'm sure you've heard of them, Aricept, Exelon, and Razidine, and they're cholinesterase inhibitors. And so in that word, to me, and what that does basically would be to block something in the brain. So to help the symptom, somehow it blocks whatever is trying to get to the tau, if I'm understanding this correctly. So, and then the Namenda is also an FDA approved medication, and it is a modulator. So it's more of it keeps things kind of even. And then you've got a combination of both, which is Nemazaric. So I don't know if you guys have heard of those, or even if you're taking those. These are some that are approved right now. And I wanted to let you know that there are some things on the horizon. So I know all of our research and all of our the money that we go towards research and clinical trials, definitely things are in the pipeline. So there is hope It's just takes a while for these drugs and things like that to kind of make their way through the pipeline. So again, the drugs that are approved by the FDA. So, you have folks that maybe have some drugs that they think may work, but they're not approved. So these are the ones that are approved. And they only help with the symptoms of Alzheimer's, and they don't treat the cause. And so that's important. It's kind of a Band-Aid to help for a while. And our goal is to find a cure to treat the underlying cause. So this is something that we actually, the Science Hub, if you have an app, or if you have an app store, or even you can get on your computer, and it's called the Science Hub, Alzheimer's Association. And this is a really good resource to have for the up and coming new information that the Alzheimer's puts out there. So right now with, if LJ said we have the International Alzheimer's Association Conference. So right now they're actually having that going on virtually. So there's a lot of information that we're getting, a lot of new and upcoming information. So it's very, very good to have. If you have any questions, check that out. It's a good resource to have. I know that the one that I just looked at on the article about blood tests, maybe be able to detect Alzheimer's by the tau in the blood, and so that's just something that they were just reporting on. So it's really interesting. But with that, since we are talking about research and those type things, we do clinical studies, and we go through trial match. So trial match is kind of like if you've ever heard of a dating site or whatever. It's not a dating site, but it matches you to a clinical study or clinical research that would best fit you. So some clinical research or studies too, you can kind of use those interchangeably, but the studies are more of maybe healthy lifestyle choices and how that affects you as a healthy person, and then maybe the studies, the clinical research is more of where medication might be involved, and of course there are risks with those and those type things. So, but those are needed in order to help find a cure. We got so. Of course, scientists have increased their understanding over the past decade. So we're definitely, I feel like even, within a couple of months, we've actually had some up and coming research and notable research. So it changes, which is a good thing. It changes all the time. So, so there are definitely both drug and non-drug. So if you didn't feel comfortable doing a trial match drug, you could do the non-drug. These would be something to help advance our cause, if that's something that you'd be interested in. So again, LJ had mentioned that we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week helpline. And in that helpline, sometimes people may need a care consultation. We also do care consultations at our office, but the helpline also gives care consultations. And these care consultations are given by master level clinicians, and they're able to help guide and validate, give resources, whatever you may need. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day, they can still help you. That's just to put that out there. A lot of times people may need someone to talk to and can't find anyone because of time of day. And then online, we have so much. There's just so many resources. I wanted to point out that if you're interested in looking at the brain and kind of figuring more out about what happens with Alzheimer's in the brain, alz.org/brain tour is a good resource to look at. And it gives the in-depth tour of what happens with Alzheimer's in the brain. And again, there are so many other resources with the Alzheimer's Association. A lot of times it's just kind of getting on the website and looking through it. And if you are not one of those folks that like to get on the internet and look around, you can always call us, and we'll be glad to help you with any questions or anything that that might be pertaining to that. So we also have a community resource finder. So the community resource finder can connect you to things in Honolulu or even on other islands that can give you the resources that you need. Say if you're looking for an elder law attorney, if you're looking for maybe a geriatric psychiatrist, maybe you're looking for a geriatric doctor, or maybe you're looking for a long-term care facility or adult daycare. And they also, on the support on the community resource finder, we also have a list of our education programs and our support groups. And just a reminder that all support groups and education programs are online. And if you need help with figuring out how to get online, if you're going to have to do Zoom, we'll be glad to help. And we also like to encourage people, if you're interested in volunteering with us, we have a lot of positions that you can help us with. We have advocacy that LJ had mentioned earlier. We have the walk, which is coming up, and that's going to be virtual. And I believe that's going to be on November the 9th. And that's actually on Oahu. So we do have other islands too participating. And then we have the longest day, which ended on June the 20th, but it is starting back up. It's more of the longest day is more of a DIY kind of fundraiser. So that's really a fun one to do if you like to do things, crafts and other things like that. And then, yes, and just to volunteer with us as far as we have program volunteers. So what they would do is similar to what I'm doing. A community representative or a community educator would be someone that would actually give a presentation like I'm giving. And so that's something that we love to put out there if you guys are interested in doing something like that. And again, education programs, caregiver support groups, and care consultations. We have so many resources out there, and these resources are free of charge. So just to let you know, there's no cash involved, and we want you to know that these are very accessible to you. We will do everything we can to get you the resources that you need. And again, I want to put the number out there again, the helpline. It's 800-272-3900. If you ever need to call that number. And you can also give us a call. You know, my name is Tonya, and my number is there at 808-591-2771, extension 8236 if you're calling in. And then the email is tshammond-tullis@alz.org. You know, you can always just give the main, you can even call the main number and they can connect. So thank you so much for your listening, and I'm hoping that I can see if there's any chat. I'm looking here.